What's up, guys? Virginia Railfanner 911 back with another video. Today gonna be something that I haven't really done before. So yeah. What we're doing is a locomotive review on what you may ask. Bachmann Spectrum Norfolk and Western Class J, specifically number 611, which I saw yesterday in Roanoke. I didn't buy this in Roanoke. I actually bought it on eBay about a week ago. So here's a review on the locomotive. First, I'm gonna give you some opinions, and then I'll talk about some of the features and stuff on the locomotive. Then we'll do a couple running shots with it if it doesn't derail. Don't know if that's gonna happen or not without it derailing. But first thing to get into this locomotive is my opinion on it. I think it's a great locomotive. It runs great, and it looks great. Now, I bought this used on eBay. Not very used, it's almost like new condition. But a couple things that I don't like about it is that the front bulb needs to be replaced with an LED because it is dim, like really dim. It's probably lighter on video than it is in real life. It's not very bright. The other thing that I don't really like about it is it's not really a locomotive problem. It's more of me having a problem with my track. It's that I have 18-inch radius turns, and this thing's meant for 22s. So, really, doesn't like the curves too well, but it can deal with it. But in the curves, as you might see while I'm running this thing, that it will slow down, and that's because the driver basis is a bit long. And then, the last thing about it is, that, I had to pretty much undo the whole entire drawbar system because the tender and the locomotive were binding up on the curves, in which caused the tender to derail. So when I first bought it, every time the locomotive would come around the track, the tender would be off the track, and it would probably derail and fall over onto its side. Now, the good things about this locomotive: it does have DCC on board, which is actually pretty good. I don't really use DCC, not yet at least, but you can put a sound decoder into this thing, anything really. The detail on it is pretty good, but the bell is in the wrong place, and then the injectors and stuff up here is not the greatest. Now, as I was in Roanoke yesterday, I went to the Virginia Museum of Transportation and saw 611. And I'll have a video out sooner or later when I get it from the person, specifically Virginia Railfanner, or not Virginia, but Virginian Railfanner 1069 on YouTube. Whenever he sends me the video of me ringing the bell of 611 with my bare hand. You can see the dynamos, and not dynamos, but air injectors. So not injectors, but I lost track of the word now. But yeah, that will be up on my YouTube channel sooner or later. Next thing that I really like about it is that the drivers and all that look great. Fantastic. Another thing that I love about it is that the tender does have a reverse light on it. So that is great. And the detail's pretty good. It also has a detailed cab interior with cab figures. So I like that about it as well. And, what else? You can put a smoke unit in here if you'd like. I'm not going to, even though I just yesterday bought a locomotive that did have a smoke unit in it, so I need to get smoke fluid for it. But yeah, you can put a smoke unit in there. I'm not going to, because I don't need another unit that has a smoke unit in it, because I don't want this house smelling like smoke and it being all foggy and stuff. Now the details is, it's like they tried to have a, coupler cut bar on there, and you can kind of see that detail on the front of the locomotive, and it's there. It's not the greatest thing ever, but it's there. On the other side of the locomotive, there is a, whatchamacallit, a, throttle linkage rod thing that goes along the side of the boiler, which I think is pretty cool, considering this is a Bachmann locomotive, by the way. And, the rails are nice and thin, not too thick, but not too thin to where if you touch them, it will fall apart. This is an Athearn Genesis locomotive from 2010. Like I said earlier, the tender does have a reverse light on it, and that's actually pretty bright. Another thing is that the tender deck has pretty good detail for it being a tender deck. What else? The paint is very good on this locomotive. Like, very, very good. And it's not as great in the video, but it's a very good model for the price that I got it at. Now, if you were to buy the new version of this locomotive on Amazon, it'd cost you roughly $100 more than what I bought this for, so. Whoop. The back of the tender, actually not the back, but the front of the tender does have, detail on it as well, so that's also pretty neat. What else? This locomotive is kind of okay at slow speeds. It's a bit jerky, but, I mean, I don't mind, considering I run this thing most of the time at full speed, considering this thing doesn't really go too fast, but it's not too slow to where it's like N&W, like freight moving, coal drags, stuff like that. But, I guess we'll now run this thing around the layout a couple times. Do not mind the messiness that I call the back of my layout, because it's been like that for about a month now. Let me move this thing up. But, yeah, the tender has a pretty bright reverse light. And what I plan on doing is get, or not even getting, but I might get one, but it's a, Spectrum auxiliary tender that goes with this, or I might get a BLI one, or I might save up my money to get a 1218 and just build one out of an original old Tyco tender that I have. That's for a locomotive that really doesn't work. And, so, let's see if this thing will want a couple. Oh, wait. Reverse. But, you can put sound in this thing. You just have to remove the weight that's in the tender, put in your own sound decoder. Another thing that I might need to do with this locomotive is add in some weights, because this locomotive really isn't that well weighted. It's a bit light for me, and for what most of my locomotives are weighed in at. But I mean, it can pull a decently sized passenger train. Let's get to running this thing, alright? Oi, why is that thing off the track? let's get her done. Now on the straights, this thing really can pick up some speed. But in the curves, it's kind of slow. And mind you, I have this phone propped against a Southern steam locomotive that has a smoke unit in it. That's what I bought yesterday. So that's what this thing's currently propped up on. And it works. I mean, considering I don't have a tripod or anything like that, and I don't have an actual camera, this will do until I get a good phone that has a decent camera on it. And then until I get something that I can prop a phone up on. But this locomotive runs really smoothly at high speeds. And I'm gonna guess this locomotive is probably from around 2005, considering I think they launched them in like 2002, and they stopped making the model in like, I want to say 2008. Don't know for sure because I don't research Bachmann locomotives that much, unless I'm planning on buying one. But what I plan on doing is getting a Broadway Limited 1218 or something along the lines of that, which is a Class A. And if it's not 1218, I'll probably renumber it to 1218 because that's me, and I like my locomotives the way I like my locomotives, correct to what the real life ones are that you can see nowadays. Luckily I didn't have to do that to this locomotive. But this layout, or not this layout, but this locomotive is a really good locomotive, and I think I got a really good deal because it has DCC with a decoder in it, and it runs really nice. It's just I think the motor needs to be oiled or greased a little and all that because the grease in it's probably from like 2006. And yeah, but this thing runs great. And so yeah, that's my review on the Bachmann Spectrum N&W Class J. Hope y'all have a great day. I'll see ya.